Introduction. Today's story is about one of the biggest stars in the world. She is a singer, songwriter, actress, and a record-breaking artist. She has millions of fans across the world, and her music speaks to people of all ages. Yes, we are talking about Taylor Swift. Her journey from a small-town girl to a global icon is inspiring, emotional, and full of lessons. Are you ready to hear her story? Section 1. A small-town girl with big dreams. Taylor Allison Swift was born on December 13, 1989, in a small town called Reading, in the state of Pennsylvania, USA. She grew up on a Christmas tree farm with her mom Andrea, her dad Scott, and her younger brother Austin. Life on the farm was quiet and simple. But Taylor was never an ordinary child. From a very young age, she was full of energy and imagination. She loved stories, music, and performing. When Taylor was just 9 years old, something special happened. She heard country music for the first time. It was the sound of a singer telling a story through music. Taylor was fascinated. She didn't just want to listen, she wanted to sing, too. She started singing at local events, fairs, and karaoke contests. Every time she was on stage, she felt alive. But Taylor didn't stop at singing. She wanted to write her own songs. At the age of 12, she learned to play the guitar. Not just to play other songs, but to write her own. Her first song was called Lucky You, and it showed that she already had a talent for turning emotions into lyrics. She wrote about her feelings, her friends, her school life, real things that she understood. Her parents saw her passion and believed in her dream. They began driving her to Nashville, Tennessee, a city known as the heart of country music. Every weekend, they would travel for hours so Taylor could visit record labels and give out demo CDs. It was not easy. Most people said no, she was just a teenager, and the music industry is very tough. But Taylor did not give up. She kept writing, singing, and learning. When she was 14, her family made a big decision. They moved to Nashville to help Taylor get closer to the music world. It was a huge change. New home, new school, and new challenges. But Taylor stayed focused. She started performing at every chance she got. She joined a music publisher and began working with experienced songwriters. She was the youngest person in the room, but she worked harder than anyone else. Then, something magical happened. A man named Scott Borchetta saw her perform at a small cafe. He was about to start a new music label, and he believed in Taylor's talent. He offered her a deal. And just like that, Taylor Swift became the first artist signed to Big Machine Records. Her first single, Tim McGraw, came out in 2006. It was a sweet, emotional song about love and memory. People loved it. Soon, her first album was released. It was called Taylor Swift, and it was full of songs she wrote herself. Songs like Teardrops on My Guitar and Our Song showed the world that this teenage girl had something special. She wasn't just a singer, she was a storyteller. Her songs connected with people because they were honest. She wrote about her life, her heart, her dreams, and her pain. Teenagers saw themselves in her words. Parents were impressed by her talent and work ethic. The music industry began to take notice. By the end of her first album, Taylor Swift had become a rising star in country music. She was still just a teenager, but her journey was already something amazing. A girl from a Christmas tree farm had followed her dream, worked hard, and taken her first steps toward becoming a global icon. But this was just the beginning. What would come next would take her far beyond country music, into pop superstardom, worldwide fame, and even more personal challenges. Stay with us, because the story of Taylor Swift is just getting started. Section 2: Breaking Records and Breaking Free. Taylor Swift's first album was a success. But what came next would change her life forever. In 2008, she released her second album, Fearless. It was still country music, but with a little more pop influence. The songs were catchy, emotional, and beautifully written. Tracks like Love Story and You Belong With Me became huge hits. Love Story told a modern version of Romeo and Juliet, but with a happy ending. People all over the world sang along. Fearless became the best-selling album of 2009 in the United States. Taylor was just 19 years old. She became the youngest artist ever to win the Album of the Year award at the Grammys. It was a dream come true. But along with success came new pressures. Fame brought attention. Both good and bad. Every step she took was watched, recorded, and discussed by the media. One of the most talked about moments came in 2009, during the MTV Video Music Awards. Taylor had just won an award for Best Female Video. As she began her speech, rapper Kanye West jumped on stage and interrupted her, saying that Beyoncé had the best video. The moment shocked everyone. Taylor stood there quietly, trying to hold back her emotions. She was only 19, and millions of people were watching. Instead of letting that moment break her, Taylor turned it into fuel. She stayed strong, stayed kind, and kept moving forward. That's something fans love about her, her grace under pressure. As her fame grew, Taylor started to explore new styles. In 2010, she released Speak Now, another album filled with songs she wrote entirely by herself. No co-writers, no ghostwriters, just Taylor and her guitar. Songs like Back to December, Enchanted, and Mean showed her growth, both as a writer and a person. Mean was a message to her critics: you can be cruel, but I'll rise above it. By this time, Taylor wasn't just a country singer anymore. She was becoming a pop star. And in 2012, she made the change official with her album Red. This album was a mix of country, pop, and even a little rock. It included massive hits like We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, I Knew You Were Trouble, and All Too Well. These songs talked about heartbreak, independence, and healing. All Too Well, in particular, became a fan favorite. Though it wasn't released as a single, its emotional lyrics and storytelling made it legendary among Swifties, as her fans are called. Years later, she would release a longer version, 10 minutes long, and it would break records on streaming platforms. It showed that a deeply personal song could connect with millions of people. But even with all the success, there was conflict behind the scenes. As she became more famous, Taylor felt more pressure to meet public expectations. People wanted to define her: country star, pop star, perfect girl, drama queen. She didn't want to be put in a box. She wanted to grow, explore, and express herself freely. In 2014, she did something bold. She released her first full pop album, 1989. The title came from her birth year, and it represented a rebirth in her music career. It was fun, fresh, and full of confidence. Songs like Shake It Off, Blank Space, and Style became global hits. Shake It Off was a message to ignore the haters and just be yourself. Blank Space cleverly made fun of how the media portrayed her love life. 1989 won the Grammy for Album of the Year, making Taylor the first woman to win that award twice. She had done it. She had broken free from labels, changed genres, and proved that she could lead pop music, just as she had led country music. But with more success came more battles. Taylor began speaking out about issues in the music industry. She stood up for artists' rights, fought for fair pay from streaming platforms, and spoke openly about the ownership of her music. It wasn't easy. There were public feuds, harsh headlines, and misunderstandings. But Taylor wasn't afraid anymore. She had learned to speak her truth. She was no longer just the girl with a guitar. She was a businesswoman, an activist, a creative powerhouse. And most importantly, she was still writing songs that helped people feel seen, understood, and less alone. Her journey from a teenage country star to a pop icon was complete. But Taylor's story was far from over. In fact, her next chapter would show a whole new side of her, darker, stronger, and even more personal. Stay tuned for the next part of the story, where Taylor Swift faces the shadows, reclaims her voice, and shows the world that you can always rewrite your own story. Section 3: Reputation, Reinvention, and Resilience. By 2016, Taylor Swift was one of the most famous people in the world. She had millions of fans, sold-out stadium tours, and shelves full of awards. But fame has a price. And for Taylor, the price was her peace. She had faced criticism before, but now it was louder and more intense than ever. Everything seemed to explode that year. After a long-standing feud with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian returned to the spotlight, the internet turned on her. A phone call was released without her permission. Hashtags like "Taylor Swift is over party" began trending. People started calling her fake, manipulative, or too focused on her image. It felt like the world wanted her to disappear. And so, she did. Taylor stepped away from the spotlight. No public events. No interviews. No posts. For someone who was always present, always talking to fans, this silence was shocking. But she wasn't giving up. She was healing. Reflecting. Writing. Then in 2017, Taylor came back, but not the same Taylor people knew. She returned with a message: "The old Taylor can't come to the phone right now." Why? "Oh, 'cause she's dead." That line, from her hit single "Look What You Made Me Do," made it clear this was a new era. Her sixth studio album was called Reputation. The cover showed a black and white photo of her with newspaper headlines in the background. It was a bold message. This album wasn't soft or sweet. It was sharp, powerful, and full of emotion. Songs like "Ready for It," "Endgame," and "I Did Something Bad" showed a darker, stronger Taylor. But underneath the attitude, the heart was still there. One song from Reputation stood out, "Delicate." It was quiet and emotional, showing vulnerability beneath the bold new image. And in the middle of the chaos, something beautiful happened. Taylor fell in love. Quietly, privately. Unlike before, she kept this relationship out of the spotlight. She had learned that some things are better protected. Her Reputation Stadium tour became one of the highest-grossing tours of all time. Even with all the controversy, Taylor proved that her fans were still there and stronger than ever. But she wasn't done growing. In 2019, Taylor released her next album, Lover. And just like that, the darkness lifted. Lover was full of color, light, and hope. Songs like Lover, You Need to Calm Down, and The Archer explored love, identity, and kindness. Taylor also began using her platform to speak out more about politics, LGBTQ+ rights, and women's rights. She had always used her voice in her music, but now she was using it in society. She urged people to vote. She stood up for equality. And through it all, she kept writing songs that touched the soul and made people feel understood. But there was another storm coming. In 2020, the world faced the COVID-19 pandemic. Concerts were canceled. Cities were locked down. Many artists went quiet. But not Taylor Swift. She surprised everyone by releasing a new album called Folklore. It was soft, calm, and poetic, very different from her previous work. Instead of writing about her life, Taylor created characters and stories. Songs like Cardigan, Exile, and The Last Great American Dynasty were full of imagination and depth. Fans and critics loved it. She released another surprise album, Evermore, just months later. These two albums showed a new side of Taylor. Not a pop star or a country girl, but a quiet storyteller working from a cabin in the woods, creating magic with words. For many people during lockdown, these songs brought comfort. But even as she was writing new music, Taylor was also fighting an old battle. Years earlier, her old record label sold the rights to her first 6 albums to someone she did not trust. She had no control over her own master recordings, her life's work. So, she made a bold decision: she would re-record her old albums. Not just to take back control, but to show the world the power of ownership. She called them Taylor's versions. And fans supported her fully. In 2021, she released Fearless, Taylor's version, and Red, Taylor's version. These re-recorded albums brought back memories for fans, and added new songs from the vault that had never been released before. The 10-minute version of All Too Well became a massive success and even got its own short film, directed by Taylor herself. Through all the ups and downs, fame, hate, love, loss, Taylor Swift never gave up. She changed, she adapted, and she always stayed true to her art. She taught the world a powerful lesson: you don't have to stay the person others say you are. You can fall, you can rise, and you can write your own story. And Taylor's story? It wasn't over yet. In the next section, we'll explore how Taylor Swift took the world by storm, again, through stadiums, surprises, and the biggest tour of her career. Section 4: The Eras Tour and Taylor's Global Legacy. After more than a decade in the music industry, most artists begin to slow down. But Taylor Swift? She only got stronger. From country girl to pop icon, from public battles to quiet reinventions, she had done it all. But in 2022, she was about to do something even bigger, something that would change live music forever. Taylor announced the Eras Tour in late 2022, and the response was explosive. Tickets sold out within minutes. Fans from all over the world rushed to be part of it. The idea behind the tour was special. Instead of just promoting one album, Taylor would celebrate her entire career. Every album. Every era. From Fearless to Evermore, from Red to Midnights, each part of the show would honor a different chapter of her life and music. It wasn't just a concert, it was a journey. The tour began in March 2023, and from the very first night, people were amazed. Taylor performed for more than 3 hours. She sang over 40 songs, wore dazzling costumes, and created a magical experience for her audience. Every night was a mix of lights, music, dancing, and emotion. People laughed, cried, and sang their hearts out. Each section of the concert reflected a different version of Taylor. In the Lover set, she danced under pastel lights. In the Reputation section, she brought fire and power. During the Folklore and Evermore songs, the stage turned into an enchanted forest. And when she reached the Red era, she performed the legendary 10-minute version of All Too Well, with thousands of fans singing every word. The Eras Tour wasn't just a celebration of music. It was a tribute to Taylor's growth, both as an artist and as a person. It showed how she had survived pain, embraced change, and found strength in her own voice. And it wasn't only fans who noticed. The tour became a global phenomenon. Cities lit up buildings in her honor. Hotels were booked out months in advance. People traveled across continents just to see her perform. Swifties traded friendship bracelets at concerts, creating a sense of community and connection that felt magical. The tour also broke records. It became the highest-grossing tour by a female artist, with millions of tickets sold. Every show was a reminder of how powerful music can be, how it brings people together, how it tells stories, and how it stays with us long after the lights go out. But even while touring the world, Taylor was still writing, still dreaming. In late 2022, she released Midnights, an album filled with late-night thoughts, secrets, and reflections. Songs like Anti-Hero and Bejeweled were deeply personal, while still fun and bold. Once again, she showed that her music could be both universal and intimate. With Midnights, Taylor continued her streak of success. It debuted at #1, and once again, she dominated the charts. She even became the first artist in history to occupy all 10 spots on the Billboard Hot 100 at the same time. No one had ever done that before. Beyond music, Taylor's influence stretched into fashion, business, and even film. She directed her own short films. She was named Artist of the Decade and Woman of the Decade. Universities gave courses about her songwriting. Her lyrics were studied like poetry. But perhaps the most powerful part of Taylor's legacy is not the records or the awards, it's how she makes people feel. Fans say her music helped them through breakups, loneliness, loss, and growing up. Her honesty about love, heartbreak, anxiety, and hope made people feel seen. She told the stories many were afraid to share. And Taylor never stopped learning. She kept growing. She used her voice to lift others, to protect artists, to defend women's rights, and to fight for equality. She wasn't perfect, but she was real. And that's what made her story so special. From writing songs in her bedroom to performing in front of 70,000 people a night, Taylor Swift's journey is a story of courage, creativity, and connection. She turned pain into power, and words into anthems. So, what's next for Taylor Swift? That's the best part, nobody knows. She's always full of surprises. But one thing is clear. Wherever her story goes, millions of people will be listening, singing along, and learning English through her beautiful, unforgettable lyrics. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the life of Taylor Swift. Remember, your story matters, too. Keep learning, keep growing, and like Taylor, never stop writing your own path.